Hey, have you ever heard of a no-brainer? A no-brainer is bringing back the AL batting champion, and that is this guy, Yuli Gurriel. And that's what the Astros did. They went ahead and picked up the team option for $8 million. And there is a news conference tomorrow. And no, I don't think it has anything to do with Carlos Correa. It has something to do with Dusty Baker. We'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman, and you can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
Alrighty, and guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Keep on subscribing, keep on giving us a thumbs up every time you listen to one of our podcasts. And for those of y'all that don't, you're not on YouTube, that means you like it. And go ahead and listen to us on the audio version on your way to work, on your way home from work, wherever you do it. Just listen on Odyssey, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. Listen to Locked On Astros podcast daily. And today's episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. We're download the Spotify app and join us this week. And Spotify is changing the way we talk sports. So let's go and get started on this episode. I know that we kind of led in with the whole Yuli news, and that is kind of a big deal. I mean, Yuli Gurriel batted 319 on the season with 15 home runs, with 81 RBIs, 83 runs, and he had a 3.7 WAR according to Baseball Reference. And this guy with the hair, this guy was pretty good all season long, and he was one of the guys who carried the Astros into the playoffs. And I know he is 37 years old. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, this guy needs to move over to third base and have Alex Bregman play shortstop. But I just don't see that happening. But first things first, he's playing third. He's back, and that's the main thing.
No, yeah. I mean, I have seen some insane scenarios today on Facebook, on Twitter because of this, I guess, quote unquote, fanboys falling out about Correa maybe not coming back. Number one, Bregman's not moving from third. That's his place. With his hamstring issues, you really want him playing shortstop. But Yuli Gurriel is your consummate first baseman. He's aging, but he doesn't seem to age. Keith Law from The Athletic actually had the audacity to write an article and do a review of Yuli and say how he had a below average bat, how he was declining, how his glove he was basically not a very good first baseman. And I basically have statistics to back up that his fielding is pretty damn good, Eric. A .995 fielding percentage. I mean, this guy is he's got his highest fielding percentage he had in the last 2 or 3 years. He has only committed he committed 6 errors on the entire season. And I think a lot of that was due to ground balls that ran up on him or bad throws that he got. But this guy, Yuli Gurriel, he's aging and he's getting better. He aged and he topped the league. He beat out Vlad Guerrero Jr., one of the hottest young hitters in all of baseball this year, for the batting title. And I think he's like one of the oldest players. He's one of the first Cuban players to do, only like the second, I think. And obviously he's the oldest to do it. And just what he brings to this team, the whole La Pina power, and just who he is. The Astros signed 2 more Cuban players today, and we'll get to that in a later segment. But this guy is, I think, a permanent part of this organization. I think even after he finishes his service as a player, Eric, they should absolutely sign him as a player consultant to Cuban players to help with that pipeline, because the Astros have got a future with Yuli. And I think Yuli's going to have another great season. And I just don't see how baseball analysts on the national level can blindly just throw out there that Yuli's glove is not that good, that he's not that good of a first baseman. And Eric, you recall, you and I have covered every game this season, every playoff game, every preseason game, every regular season game. And how many times has Yuli scooped that ball out? How many times has Yuli, even when he's pulled off the bag, saved the ball from going into the dugout, extending innings? And he's been phenomenal with the glove. And it's so awesome to have him back. And for $8 million, that's a
That's a steal.
huge discount. That is a steal.
Yeah, and if they're going to bring him for the next season, it may take a little bit more. But at the same time, he'll be 38 at that time, and but at the same time, I think that he wants to stay here, and it depends on what happens with Carlos Correa. I know that he's friends with Bregman, and he's friends with some of the other players on the team, but I think that he may stay here as long as he wants to play, as long as he wants to, as long as he'll play for the right amount of money. And apparently, he's agreed to this deal. And this was a
Yeah.
team option, and so he didn't have to say yes to this deal. And so he after the down season, he agreed to this extension to this team option. So I mean, last year in 2020, well, I guess have to say the year before in 2020, since the season's over, he batted 232 with only 6 home runs, 22 RBIs. Granted, that was only 57 games because of the COVID shortened season, but he admitted that he was out of shape. He just wasn't in his best
Yeah.
playing shape, but he came in and played a much better brand of baseball. His OPS was 846, and he just did a lot better job this year. His OPS plus was 131. And so he came in and he was one of the Astros' better players this year. So I'm glad the Astros were able to retain him. And he is a big piece to the Astros infield. And now the next piece would be what happens to shortstop position. So now you got first base handled, you got second base handled, you got third base handled. What happens shortstop? And I know I talked a lot about Carlos Correa in the last podcast. I know you probably addressed it as well, but it seemed like this past weekend when or this past I guess the last game, it seemed like Carlos Correa was saying his goodbyes, and it seemed like he was kind of just saying, yeah, I thank you for the time, thank you for the memories, like Fallout Boy would say, and he's just ready
Thanks
to
for the
say goodbye.
memories. Well, right. And I also think too, going into free agency, it's a little bit of posturing. And now the chess match begins with the ball club, with the agent, with the player. And it's all about, you don't want to show your hand to make it seem like you're desperate to come back. You want them to want you. And so Correa is going to say those things that I believe that either he's being told or he knows that he needs to say right now, because he wants the Astros to do the reaching. He's not going to go to them and say, hey, what are you going to give me, guys? He's going to let them come to, he's like, I'm the hot commodity. I'm the top shortstop in the free agent market this year. Not Trevor Story, not Baez, not any of these other guys, not Seager. It's me, Carlos Correa, who had a really good year. And he kind of fell off and kind of went silent in the postseason. And someone said, well, he's often injured. Well, and I've seen people who have placated to kind of rationalize what his injuries were and why he's not quote unquote injury prone. I think Carlos Correa gets a deal done with the Astros if the Astros are willing to go at least 8 years and go at least 37 to 38.75 million AAV. If they don't go that high, they've got to give incentives, Eric, like MVP voting. They've got to give incentives like how many games you played. Like you've got to play 152 games. Like figure out how many days you're going to have him scheduled off, and then say, okay, you've got to play this many games in order to get this bonus. And so Carlos Correa is not going to come out and share any inclination that he is coming back. He'll say, I love the city. He'll say, thank you. But I think that's for a reason. And, I don't think the Astros are out of this. I know a lot of people feel like he's gone, but to me, there are so many things keeping him here. Look at Garrett Cole. What is he doing? He's sitting on his couch. Hey, he's enjoying his family, right? He didn't get to play November baseball. Look at all these other free agents and where they went. They didn't get to enjoy November baseball. And so at the end of the day, unless it's someone like a Dodgers team or a Braves team that's probably going to go back or that's going to fight for a World Series, I don't see Carlos fitting anywhere else. I don't see, he just doesn't like. You want to be like Bagwell and Biggio. You want to be an Astro for life. You don't want to be the guy you don't want to be the Alex Rodriguez of the team. You don't want to go to the
Yeah.
Rangers. A-Rod went to the Rangers before he went to the Yankees, and it's just, I, I'll just stop because I could go on and on about this because Carlos Correa at the end of the day belongs in an Astros uniform. But, and I'll say this and I'll end it here, Eric, I don't think they need to mortgage their future for Carlos Correa. I don't think they need to pay him $400 million. I think that's too much. And there has to be a threshold where you say no.
What about 220 million and a box of Built Bars? That sounds like a deal. Tell us about Built Bar.
Well, if it was a box of Built Bars that took it, I would buy 5 gladly and send them to Carlos if that kept him here for the rest of his life. I love Thanksgiving as well, Eric. All of the good food and treats. We've got family actually coming in from out of state this Thanksgiving. It's going to be a blast, but maybe you want a yummy dessert that isn't full of calories and sugar. I know she's making the chocolate pecan pie, and I know she's making sweet potato pie, but Built Bars, you don't have to feel the guilt when you eat this lovely dessert. It's delectable. It's wrapped in 100% chocolate. Pie has like up to 300 calories per slice. That's the low end. Go with the Built Bar. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. Replace the coconut cream pie with the coconut Built Bar, or go to the raspberry Built Bar instead of the raspberry pie. Lots of great flavors, low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate, and you won't feel guilty after eating it. You could have the turkey, you could have the ham, you could have the potatoes, and a Built Bar and feel good about it. New surprises all month, limited time offers arriving at built.com regularly, so check the site often. There's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. Mark your calendar. Black Friday will be a huge event where all sorts of surprises are offered. So go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off at built.com.
Alrighty, and once again, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Keep on subscribing, keep on liking it, and the audio version, Spotify, Odyssey, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, keep on listening to Locked On Astros podcast. And here's a quote from Carlos Correa about what his priorities are for his next team. I live my life based on doing things that make me happy. We got to take that all into consideration. At the end of the day, we just want to be happy. The team that really wants a guy that's going to bring leadership and forget all that baseball stuff, just a winning culture, then any team that wants to have me, I'll just be happy to join them and help them win. I don't understand what that's trying to say there, but
So you're saying that if a team's rebuilding and they just want you to help them win, you're going to do that? I don't like. Someone said it, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but someone said this, Eric. They said Carlos Correa could stay here and have a legacy like Bagwell and Biggio, or he could go be a rich baseball player and sit on the couch in October and November and not have another chance at a World Series in the next 5 years. He said, unless he goes into the perfect situation, why would you want to demote yourself into the possibilities? Because I don't know if you've seen this, betonline.ag. I know it's about the money, but betonline.ag, you know what they have? They have the Astros as the favorites in the American League already. They're 13-2. They're the
to
highest
re-sign him.
favorite. No, to go back to win the
Oh.
AL, to go back to the World Series. They've got the best odds right now in Vegas. And BetOnline's got the fastest books. He doesn't fit in New York. Why the heck would you go to Detroit? I sure as hell would never go to the Rangers. And why would you go out west when they've got either Seager or Turner coming back with the Dodgers? Where else is he going to go? The Cubs are rebuilding. They're a crap team. The Marlins, what? Like, there's just nowhere where I think Carlos fits in the way he fits in Houston.
Right. And he said, of course, I've dedicated my life to this organization and made all these playoffs, and we've been so successful. I feel like I was part of it. And I love this group of guys, and I've come through this organization. So obviously, it's tough. I think we accomplished a lot of great things. Winning championships are really hard in this sport. We fell short twice, but we really brought a lot of memories to the city. So if this is Carlos Correa's goodbye, what are the options for the next guy up? So I know that if you're talking about in-house, I know you have Aledmys Diaz, who could possibly play shortstop, but is he your long-term shortstop answer? You can put Aledmys Diaz technically at third base, move Alex Bregman there, but like we were talking about earlier, Bregman's been dealing with the leg issues all year. I mean, why would you put him at shortstop? And so the free agents out there, you have Corey Seager, Trevor Story, Marcus Semien, Javier Baez. Yes, some of those are some sexy names, but I don't see Corey Seager coming here. I'm sorry. Trevor Story is the guy I would keep my eye on. Marcus Semien, I see him staying in Toronto. Javier Baez, I see him staying in New York. I would see the only option is Trevor Story. So there's that
You
option. Good.
you've forgotten the one key in-house option, Jeremy
Uh,
Pena.
yeah, I was just about to bring him.
Okay.
Then you have the youngsters. You have Jeremy Pena, and then you have Pedro Leon, who has been playing shortstop this year, and he hit a home run in the Arizona Fall League today or yesterday. So
Yeah.
he's another option. But at the same time, a championship team, you don't go into the season relying on a rookie. You rely on a rookie if you have to. And
I
that good.
Well, okay, so here's what I think. If you are going to quote unquote save money on not signing Correa, because that's basically what you're doing, okay? If you don't sign Correa, they're gonna offer Correa a qualifying offer. They're gonna offer JV a qualifying offer. And this is what's cool. I'm gonna get back into the Correa thing. The Astros actually get 2 early round picks, I think, for each qualifying offer. Instead of, if they had gone over the luxury tax like everybody wanted them to, they would have been knocked all the way to the 4th round. So that's the positive with Correa not signing. The obvious negatives are he's not here. He's one of the best shortstops, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think you bring in a Javi Baez. I don't think his personality fits in this clubhouse. Trevor Story, to me, is the most realistic out of all those that you mentioned. Marcus Semien's going to want too much for the year that he had. You're not going to pay him because who knows if that was an anomaly year for him. I think Marcus Semien's a very good player, but I don't know that he stays that consistently because he is an older player. Trevor Story, but I think Jeremy Pena is who they're banking on, Eric. And I think that's why he was on the taxi squad. I think that's why he was hanging around these players. You've got enough around him to make up for him being a rookie. And if you can be confident enough in his defense, I believe his bat comes around. Especially the first couple months of the season, the pitchers won't know him, won't be familiar with him. So that might give him a chance to really come in the league and have a hot start. Pedro Leon, too, I think is a little bit more outside looking in than Jeremy Pena, but I don't see why. And here's why: you don't have to go out and get that high dollar shortstop if you don't sign Correa because you got Pena, and that gives you the ability to go out and get another ace type pitcher. Go after a Robbie Ray. Go after a Marcus Stroman. Go after someone who's a big frontline pitcher that you can pay that money to because you're not going to pay 8, 9, 10 years to a pitcher, 4, 5 years.
The name that kept on coming up on yesterday's podcast in the chat was Noah Syndergaard. And I
Yeah,
don't know if I could
yeah,
trust that guy.
yeah. Syndergaard hasn't he dealt with a lot of injuries, or is that
Yeah.
Jacob? No, yeah. I mean, he's dealt with.
Well, they both
If you
have, but
Well, if you can get Syndergaard healthy and you're not paying an arm and a leg, but dude, I really like Robbie Ray. I think there's a strong chance Robbie stays in Toronto. Toronto loves him there, but he has really become one of the top pitchers in the league. Rodon, I believe, isn't Rodon a free agent from the White Sox? And
I believe so. I think he just signed a one-year deal.
so, oh, okay, because there are guys out there, and Eric, they're going to have to address. They're going to have to get another starting pitcher. I love Garcia, I love Urquidy, I love Valdez, but they're going to have to get another frontline pitcher to help Lance McCullers out in the front end.
Syndergaard pitched 0 games in 2020. He pitched
Okay,
2 games this year.
well, maybe that means he doesn't have a lot of mileage, but then again, you wonder how much durability he has. Is he going to go Matt Harvey or Mark Pryor on his career and just kind of fade out? So he may come at a discount, Eric. He
Yeah.
may come at a pretty huge discount because he doesn't have the resume.
Yeah, but he still has that big name, so I would bet that he was asking for a big name. So speaking of betting, let's talk about betonline.ag.
Yeah, we're back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. And as you heard here on this podcast, that betonline.ag is typically the book that has the odds out quicker than anybody else. And they have the Astros at a 13-2 odds at winning the American League. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Alrighty, so we have all off season talk about this. I know we have the qualifying offer deadline coming up
Yeah.
fairly soon. We'll talk about that coming up. We have the Rule 5 draft coming up. We have free agency, the start of the free agency period. I believe that's 11/7th. 11 November 7th, which is coming up pretty soon. We already had a trade coming up pretty soon. So one thing that could hinder things this year is the CBA, and it's going to expire on December 1st. So we don't know what's happening there. But one thing we do know is that the Astros have 5 players who are qualifying for the Gold Glove finalists. And so I know Martin Maldonado is one of them. Yuli Gurriel is one. Carlos Correa is one. And who's the other two?
The other two are, so you
Zach
have
Greinke
Zach Greinke and you have
and
Kyle Tucker.
right.
And actually, technically, there's a sixth, Eric, because our buddy Miles Straw, who was traded to the Cleveland Indians, is considered for the Gold Glove for center field. Imagine if he was still with the Astros. Well, I don't think things would have gone the same way because Baton really seemed to help us. So you got Yuli, you've got Greinke, you've got stop, you've got Kyle Tucker, you've got Martin Maldonado. I mean, you've got these guys on the field, Carlos Correa. You got 5 people on this team, Eric, for Gold Gloves. And a sixth honorable mention, Miles Straw. We still love you, man. We love Myers. We love McCormick. We love Siri. But, man, we still miss Miles Straw. He was, good for him. These guys and, Keith Law, maybe he should look at the Gold Glove nominees before he makes comments about Yuli Gurriel's glove being below average because
Yeah.
the guy's an amazing first baseman. I mean, anybody that does first base well, I'm impressed by because a lot of times they're not always like I like the bigger first basemen that like get the stretches and they're able to move and you're like, wait, how did Sean Casey do that back in the day when we were growing up? Or, it was great seeing these big burly first basemen do it. Jose Abreu with the White Sox is another phenomenal talent at first base. But this team's got 5 Gold Glovers, Eric. And let me tell you, with them signing Gurriel, they have 8 of the 9 players coming back. The only player not coming back in this top 9 as of right now is Carlos Correa. You can't convince me that the Astros aren't in another ALCS for a 6th season in a row because they still got the lineup, man.
Yeah. So if you look at the names on this list, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know all the defensive metrics of everything. We can talk about that on a later show. But I would say that Zach Greinke and Dallas Keuchel would be a kind of tough matchup there. Martin Maldonado and maybe Salvador Perez will be a tough matchup there. I don't really know Matt Olson and Jared Walsh too well, like defensively. I know we play them a lot, but I would say I wouldn't really know too much about that. But
Well, okay, so here's the deal. I'll tell you this with shortstop real quick. Correa, this will be his first Gold Glove award. He is basically pacing all shortstops with
yeah,
21 defensive runs saved. I mean, if you look at first base, Yuli Gurriel has he could add his first Gold Glove. He won the batting title. Now he's with 5 defensive run saves. The A's slugging first baseman Olson is at 6 defensive runs saved. And then you have Martin Maldonado, who is a previous Gold Glove winner, and he led all catchers with 19 caught stealings this season. Okay. Perez is one behind him with 18 and league leading 44% caught stealing. So that is where they are. Now, um, when you
Tucker.
go down to Kyle Tucker is up there with them. It says Gallo and Tucker also produced 11 defensive runs saved apiece in right field, tied with Aaron Judge for the second position behind Garcia. So it's Renfroe, Tucker, and Gallo. So Tucker really, I mean, dude, he did phenomenal. And
The,
this is a
the
guy. Go ahead.
the weird thing with Renfro is he makes a lot of errors, but he also makes a lot of good throws at the throws. He has a lot of outfield assists, so that's why he's on this list. He makes a lot of errors, but he makes a lot of outfield assists. So
Do you remember when Tucker first came up? The knock on him was he's a lazy outfielder. He
yeah,
doesn't try. And now he's a Gold Glove nominee. He was player of the month. I mean, he clearly, if he would have started a little bit hotter this year, clearly could have been the Astros MVP, could have called for a batting title. I
right.
mean, this kid's a complete package.
Yeah. So, in the other news, their Astros are calling a press conference on Friday, November 5th. And it's not to announce Carlos Correa resigning. Not probably not, because I don't think they're even allowed to
No.
until the 7th. But it's to go ahead and talk about Dusty Baker being probably re-signed. So this is something that has been rumored for a while, and I know that Bob Nightingale said 3 things the other day, and one of the 3 things was that in the next 48 hours, Dusty Baker and the Astros would be agreeing on a contract, and for at least a 2022 season. And I've heard that it could be possibly for a second season as well. The Astros like Dusty Baker, the players like Dusty Baker, and so they want to
Yeah.
give him another chance to get that World Series, because he has unfinished business, like I said on yesterday's podcast, and he wants to prove that he wants to get that for his career, because that's the only thing that he came out of retirement for this, and he picked the right team to get it. Unfortunately, he fell short in 2020. He fell 2 games short in 2021. So hopefully, with maybe just getting a few pieces here and there, and for 2022, the Astros can go all the way.
Well, I don't think that you can solely say, well, they were in 2 ALCSs because of Dusty Baker.
No, I didn't say that.
But no. I'm just making a point here. But you can say that he was a part of the equation. And I know that I was heavily critical of Dusty Baker throughout the season because I was a little leery of moves he made bullpen wise and pitching moves. And I guess I was a little timid to buy in because I knew his history. And what's interesting is he's done exactly opposite of what his history is. And his past is letting pitchers go too long and throwing their arms out versus now we're like, oh, why'd you pull him? And he had a masterful playoff run. He had to navigate his ace, Lance McCullers Jr., going down, and a few mistake pitches here or there, and a lot of those games swing in our favor, Eric. The bottom line is this. People may not be the biggest fan of Dusty Baker, but the way that the players have bought into him, the way that he has, I think, kept this culture alive in the clubhouse, being like, I think a polar opposite of AJ Hinch, but still having that camaraderie with the guys, I think that bodes well for the team. And if the players buy in, and if the clubhouse isn't broken, if he has the clubhouse, why would you go get someone else? Now, the only danger I think with signing Dusty Baker is possibly losing Joe Espada to the open market. Joe Espada is a valuable commodity. He's an up and coming candidate, I think, that's going to come up on several teams' list as openings come available or that are available. I haven't heard anything actively right now, but I could assume that that's what's going on. You lose Brent Strom as well, and I know you mentioned that, but Brent Strom said that he made this decision before the end of the season, and he felt that if he stayed, that would mean that the younger guys coming up, Murphy and their other pitching coach, would be plucked away from major league teams, and he wanted them to stay in Houston, and it was time for him to move on. So I didn't think I would ever say this, but I don't mind Dusty Baker coming back for another season. I actually like the idea. I mean, two ALCS in a row, you can't fault the guy for that. Okay.
Yuli is so surprised you said that. That's why you had to come out. But
Well, I mean, look,
I know.
look, no. And my thing is, Eric, I'm always willing to go back and correct things that I say. Unlike most people who will die on the hill if they have an opinion, they won't leave it. I'm willing to change what I think because I'm willing to educate myself. And so people that have slammed me on this podcast about, oh, you said this, and okay, I can eat my crow. We had a guy send us a DM like with a crow on a plate, like enjoy your eating your crow. And I'm like, yeah, the Braves kicked our butt, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Dusty did the job.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see it there, but I have a new World Series little thing back there, little above my Bagwell picture. So I'm still proud that the Astros made it to the World Series, and I think that they could do it again. So I'm proud of the Astros this season. They did this without Lance McCullers in the playoffs. They did this without Justin Verlander. So we'll see what happens. This is going to be an interesting season. And guys, keep on tuning into Locked On Astros podcast all off season, and we'll keep you updated, and we'll talk about all the juicy rumors, all the speculation, everything that you need to know every day, because that's what we'll do on the Locked On Astros podcast. We will talk to you on Monday. Go Stros, and we'll see what Dusty Baker has to say and how long they sign him on tomorrow.